5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh,
Hello, Pom Boyd. One of my oldest pals and comedy chums and inspiration. And we haven't caught up in ages. So we've so much to talk about. But my first question is always, hello, who is Pom Boyd? No, that's no. Pom Boyd, your last really high profile piece of work was Bernie in the Dry. Should we start there?
Okay.
All right. So tell me.
Because we could start anywhere.
We could start anywhere.
We've so much to cover.
And I've so much I want to
just
talk
chat
to you about. But Bernie, you've just finished filming the final series.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. The third and final series of The Dry, and it's really sad. It's really sad that it's over, and it was one of those jobs. It was a once in a lifetime job. You know, you don't get roles like Bernie Sheridan every day of the week.
What I loved about what you did with that role is it's an Irish mother and they go, Mammy. And that is such a cliche trope in comedy and everything. You see this endless Mammy.
Yeah, the Mammy trope.
And what I loved about your character was she had none of the cliches. She was a fully rounded, interesting,
difficult,
damaged,
complicated,
like human beings are. Was that in the script, or was that did you edge it that way with your performance?
I definitely would say, and I think Nancy and Paddy would agree, they gave me permission to bring what I bring to the role. So they had said themselves they weren't too sure who Bernie was at the start, but she was written so beautifully, and the whole thing is written so beautifully that there was room there to lean into all that stuff. So the fact that she was this emotionally withholding, complicated woman, I think that started to emerge quite early on, because that's what I understood her to be, and I know those kind of women. I understand the complications of Irish mothers. We both do, you know. So I knew the type of women that I knew, my mothers and her sisters and my friends' mothers and friends of mine, that I never see them on screen.
This is the whole thing. I would imagine that they, in the auditions, they would have seen people go, because you can often fall to cliche that, it's the Irish mammy again. And Irish mammy in the Irish cliche thing of comedy and drama is this kind of
stereotype.
This giver. She's
just
a giver.
She's a giver, or she's you know, don't worry, I'll sit here in the dark, you know, all that kind of trope. Yeah. So doormat, but also a martyr. Sort of a little bit is the self-pitying thing. Passive aggressive. Yeah, and that is true. Like that does exist, but it exists. But the thing is, it's the same stuff with a lot of roles for women. You know, it's mother. As I say before, mother is not a character description. You know, granny is not a character description. You might be a grandmother. It's not a fucking character description. And so many of the scripts that you get handed, it's like they think, she's the granny, they've just written that, and they don't put any work into developing who this, because they're not interested.
Yeah.
So, and the thing about it is, it's also true as you get older, you know, getting more interesting parts. There's a few, but you also have to claim them. Or you have, like, for example, I was offered a part of a granny, and I always balk when I see granny, because I go, fuck, like, what is this? And she was knitting in the chair, and I said, look, I will take that role and I will happily do it, because it's a great script, but she's not going to be knitting, and she's not going to be 70 because you can be a granny at 50, you can be a granny at 40. It's just a woman who has children who have children. That's what a granny is. You know. Anyway, could go on about that.
Did you do it?
I did do it, yeah, I did. And they were delighted.
Sorry, just when you say that. So she's sitting there with that crack pipe.
So, you know, they let me put in the old gear. Yeah, exactly. See the film? No, I did, and it's out, and it's
Can you say what it was?
Yeah, it was yeah, I can. It's spilt milk.
Yeah.
So it came out, I think, last year.
It was a movie.
It's a movie and it was set in the 80s. So it was actually a really interesting, lovely little film. We shot it up in Rialto, in Dolphin's Barn, in the flats that are still waiting to be regenerated. So they're still sitting there. So we shot it up there. So it was all 80s. I was the only person on set who actually knew the 80s, who was old enough to have lived through the fucking 80s.
But that it's so funny when I hear you say Granny, a bit of me goes, oh, because when I see you play Bernie, what I see is the brilliant Pom energy that I first saw from the first time I saw you on stage, which was in Digging for Fire in the Bush in London. Because I had met you over here in Dublin in the early 90s when I was doing comedy.
And I was doing comedy.
And you were doing comedy.
So we would have been on the same stages together.
Yeah, and I was based in London.
Yeah.
And I was in drama college there. And it was coming to the end of drama college, and I was going, what the hell am I going to do? And I was sitting on the little in Putney in the studio where we had rehearsal space, and I saw this poster for Digging for Fire, and I looked down the names, and your name was there, and I went, Pom, I know Pom. And I went to see it, and I was blown away. That was a brilliant play, and you were amazing in it. Do you remember your character? You just had this, the way you just came out and were just instantly, it was your energy. You had such a presence. You had a real kind of punky you were someone who you were cynical and tired. And I think, did your character have AIDS?
Yeah, she was HIV positive.
Yeah, and she came back to Dublin. But then I met you after, and you were so nice to me.
Such a nice time.
And you said, oh, sleep on the couch where I'm staying. And then I stayed over, and then you brought me to parties with the cast, and we were in Dominic Drumgoole.
Yeah.
I think, did he pass away?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No, Dominic. Sorry.
Another stereotype of Irish women. Is he dead?
But Dominic Drumgoole
He wrote a book recently.
wasn't he the that's why I was reading about him. Either I've read about people because they've died.
Yeah, exactly. It all goes into the morass in there.
Dominic Drumgoole was the artistic director of the Bush at the time. But you know what do you know what I remember of the time?
Yeah.
Is he was so kind.
Oh,
you were so nice to me.
I have such happy memories of that time.
But you were I've met people who will not open the door like that. And that's what I always think with you. You open the door and but you were just like so nice to me. Some people are not like that. I've met people who, in the most extraordinary situations where they could have gone, come with.
And they do the opposite. They shut the door.
Help me. Didn't. And it's so disappointing because I've always said, hey, I know. Hey, come. A lot of people don't. You did. And that was it was one of the things that made me start thinking about moving back to Dublin, because I just love the cast. All the actors in that, amazing. Do you remember that party, Dominic's party, and Declan Hughes was there, and he was the toast of the moment because everybody was raving about that place.
Yeah.
And I remember
he had a gorgeous flat.
I remember you had a gorgeous flat. Oh, Dominic.
Yeah, Dominic's flat. Do you remember?
I don't.
We
I
just
remember.
And
I just remember being.
Everybody went nuts.
But I just remember being in this moment of wow. It was a real moment of creativity in Dublin, and I just remember the reviewer in Time Out saying, wow, I'm London through and through, but this spoke to me so much. It was that, now that wouldn't be startling because everything is more organic and linked together. But at the time, it was this sense of, wow, there's really exciting stuff coming out of Ireland.
Yeah.
And you would just move back to Dublin from, tell me where you were at that time.
Oh, God, that was such an amazing time in my life, really. But I had just come back from New York, and I was just... Look, I feel I've had, and I'm sure you're the same, I feel I've had like 7 different very clear lives.
Yeah.
No, at least 7, maybe. And New York was one of them, you know. Yeah. I was only there for 4 years, but it was incredibly rich time. And in fact, I just spent a month in New York in April.
Oh, wow.
Doing a show. And so I was back in my old neighborhood, and I went around to see my old apartments. I met my old friends. I met the children of my old friends who came to the show, and it was an incredible experience, because that time was I went to New York. AIDS was just it was 1986, and the AIDS epidemic was just hitting. Was just hitting, and so it was everywhere, and it was. In fact, I went out with a guy then that I was working with, Guido, yeah, who turned out to be, after I left, HIV. He died of AIDS-related illness, and a lot of people I knew had AIDS, and anyway, so I was coming back to New York, having had that experience, and I was sort of, things had moved on as they do when you go away, and the comedy scene the scene that I was involved in, the alternative comedy scene, had disappeared, and now there was this new energy, which your brother Kevin and the Mr. Trellis and the Cellar and all of that scene was just beginning, and so I sort of ended up, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
Got involved in that, and I had a flat in Waterloo Road, all of that.
You were one of the big linchpins for me when I moved back, and like I said, it used to have me round. You really looked after me. That's my memory of it. You just really rooted me into Dublin. But
you rooted yourself. Like, you came back and you quickly, and I mean, you had your brother here as well, so you very quickly found your tribe.
And that was what happened to me when I came back. Was I went to the Comedy Cellar, I looked at Ardla and all of them, and I was very familiar with the scene in London, and they were starting to move to London, and I went, this is the way you should have done it. You should have stayed in Ireland. You should have honed to a hilt what you do. You should arrive in London fully formed. Everybody goes, who is this novice? They are stunning.
Yeah.
And play it that way. Instead, I used to book open spots and write material before I went on stage.
We were all stumbling around. We all didn't fucking know what we were doing. Like, career-wise, if it was just about that, I should have gone to London. I shouldn't have gone to New York. Like, what was I going to suddenly become? I did, considering how I went to New York with $200 in my pocket and nothing. I ended up in 2 shows over there. I got an agent, and
that's why I went to London.
Yeah.
I just thought, I had this sense about that America would be so hard.
Yeah. And it was.
But you have a superb presence on stage, and I wonder, does some of that come from American actor training or a sensibility you learned there? Or maybe you just had it anyway, but there is a wonderful sensibility in American performance. It's about instant presence when you get on stage.
It is. They have, well, I tell you what American performance had, and when I went to American acting school over there, I realised they all have a great access to their emotional life. They can access their emotions, interestingly.
Yeah.
But they can lack other stuff as well. I honestly think that my stuff, well, I think, I not to be, I've been acting, I think, since I was like 3. I think I was born to act, and I'm only embracing that now. My mother was an actress. It wasn't strange to be performing around home. In school, I was always given the lead in plays. Then I started doing street theatre, and there's nothing that'll train you more than doing street theatre.
Yeah, I did it too, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing.
It's the hardest thing.
It's the lowest of the pile, but to crack it is the hardest skill.
Absolutely. And I'm only starting to reclaim that now, because I never used to even mention it, because, like you say, it was always disregarded.
Oh, it was seen as
dreadful. And there was some really shit street theatre, but we did, in the Grapevine, the stuff that we were doing was actually really original and very cool. So I'm really proud of all that stuff. Like, we did really, really creative and subversive stuff as well. There was a lot of subversion that went on in that stuff. But so I feel that whatever that thing that and now I feel that thing that you're talking about, that energy and that punk thing or whatever, that's slightly, I was angry. There was a lot of anger in there, and there's a lot of fuck you to everything, because I grew up in a time when that's what you needed to, well, we still need to be like that. But so I had a natural punk, rebellious, wild. I suppose I had a wildness to me.
But also, you did come from you covered it in your play Shame. You had a really tough childhood.
I have to contradict that.
Okay.
I actually had a brilliant childhood. I've had really interesting conversations with my siblings about this, because I was a happy child. very happy child. And partly that's your disposition that you're born with, right? And, you know, do you have rose-tinted glasses, whatever. There was a lot of toughness in my family, just from my father being bipolar, depression, my mother's family. I've just come back from a family memorial where there was so much joy. And the thing that was at that family memorial, and I think this is the truth of my childhood, was there was joy, there was love, there was creativity, there was crazy by the truckload, but there was a wildness and there was a freedom. And I had a privileged childhood.
I would always see.
Freedom. You had freedom as well.
Yeah.
But I had immense privilege. You know, I grew up very privileged. And that's something I think that I haven't acknowledged, you know. But I grew up in a beautiful house that we had to sell, but it was a beautiful house. For the years that we had it. And a sense of confidence. And I suppose that is, you know, my father was a lawyer, so he had no truck with guards, and I had no fear of authority. So that's a privilege.
Yeah, but then there was, you know, in your play shame, it's just...
And there's a lot of shame.
Yeah. Of your father turning up at the
Yeah,
place
yeah,
and
exactly. But I was so proud of him as well, because everybody loved my dad, and he was, you know, I went to a party relatively recently and I was surrounded by all these barristers who said, "Oh, we knew your father. Did you know that he was the golden boy of Clongowes? Did you know that he was the youngest senior counsel ever in the country? Did you know that he was a genius? Did you know this, and this, and this?" So there's immense pride in my father as well, because he was a brilliant sportsman, all of that. He was one of those people, but he was thwarted by whatever tragedy had gone on.
And he was bipolar.
And so he
was
which
not
was called manic.
diagnosed?
It was diagnosed.
And did medication help to stabilize?
No, but he was very wild, so he wouldn't stay on the medication. He hated it, so he'd come off it, and you know, and it's amazing. The treatment is still the same now as it was back then in the 70s. But people used to think it was just he was an alcoholic. They didn't understand the mental, you know, thing. But you know, I've met bipolar people who weren't a bit like him. So you have to also go, it was him as well.
Yeah.
You know, and then my mother was this incredibly creative actress marrying a barrister, so instantly that was quite an unusual combo. But I always knew I was loved, and while I was emotionally neglected at times, there was so much that was there that I wasn't neglected in, you know. I was really, so I didn't have a hard, I feel God, compared to what people have, I had a lot of anxiety making trauma. All those things are traumatic, but they're not awful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But when you decided to go to New York, was there a desire to
get away? It was my heart was being broken at the time. So I was in a kind of a very porous state when I was in New York. I was open because of grief, sorrow.
But why New York?
Well, Trish McAdam, who was a good friend of mine, who made the film director, and we had made a film together called The Drip, or she made The Drip, which was a little small indie film. And Trish was really instrumental in the film world here. They set up the Halfpenny Film Club, and there's this whole scene in Temple Bar, like, we're talking 1983, 84, you know. So she was involved in the Grapevine and stuff like that. So Trish had come back from New York. She'd been there for 6 months, and she filled me with all these stories and pictures, and I just thought, wow, that was
so brave to go.
Yeah, it was. I have to say, it was terrifying.
But your experiences in New York, I think that's what I was looking at when I saw you in the bush that time, because that was my obsession when I was at college, was this whole thing of how do you just land on stage and there you are and you have the exact energy for your character, because I think that is it's a non-verbal thing. It's a and you just had something I was aspiring to, and I was going, wow. And
so
I'm thinking,
interesting.
Is it coming from New York? Because New York is tough.
New York
is
tough.
Tough then. It was a lot rougher than it.
Well, actually, compared to Dublin, nowhere was that tough. You know, I
don't people used to talk in
Yeah.
Alphabet City. I mean, I don't know
Well,
New York
yeah.
that well, but at the time when was that the crack era?
Yeah, that's true. There was.
And then there's always the element of guns.
There's always the element of guns, which I didn't actually see. I didn't see a gun the whole time I was there, and I didn't see. I saw really, Manhattan was really safe, and the only person I know was mugged was walking home across the Brooklyn Bridge drunk, and you would be. But other than
Where
that,
did you live?
I lived in the East Village. I lived in the West Village.
But now you wouldn't live in the East or West
Oh,
Village. They're all gone shishi and
ridiculous.
yeah.
But I was delighted to see my old flat owned by Cosmo. Cosmo's Laundry was still there, so that was great. My old apartment, and do you know what was so shocking to see in New York? All your classic old New York apartment buildings, the ones that we see in the movies and all. There's blocks and blocks and blocks, and they're all just sitting there empty. And it was, you'd be looking
empty.
and you're just going, oh, there's no lights on there. Oh, there's nobody living there. Because the landlords are holding them back because
Because they're rent control.
Yeah, exactly. So they're claiming that they don't make enough money out of them to repair them, etc., etc. So they're just all being left.
Until they dilapidate.
Until they get rid of rent controls or they sell them, they can sell them, and then obviously to demolish them and build a fucking, I mean, similar stuff that's going on here, but with poor old Dublin. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, we could go down that road.
Yeah. So you come back and then you do your show, The Mad One with the Hair. Did that come before or after you did Digging for Fire?
No, they actually,
Together.
amazingly, I did them literally in the same theatre festival. So I was rehearsing Digging for Fire during the day, and then I would go and meet Julian and we would rehearse The Mad One with the Hair. And before Digging for Fire opened, the weekend before it opened, I opened my show in the project. It was a late night show, so I was doing that. That was when you had the end.
92.
92, yeah.
And I remember my brother saying he was just blown away. So with your comedy characters.
That show. Yeah, it was just comedy characters. But I had no set, so there was perfectly for me already a set on the project stage because it was late night, so I was coming in and doing my show on their set. But it was a really kitsch little set of an Irish cottage. And it couldn't have been more perfect for me because I used to come in as my character, Miss Dillon, like I was just wandering in off the street. Remember, she was the one with the glasses, the school teacher.
Yeah.
And
I love the character.
Mary O'Brien.
Yeah, she's the one who is like a cowboy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And used to wear the bra over her shirt.
But what was she? To me, she always kind of resonated this kind of woman that you'd meet down the country who wasn't out as a lesbian.
No.
Just was a very
herself
masculine woman.
Yeah, it's funny. I never even, none of that even entered my head.
But that's why I love that character. It expressed a type of woman that I really knew from the country. I love that kind of woman. It's grown up on a farm. You have to be tough, and it's not very feminine. And then some just and it's almost asexual.
Well, exactly. And I really, because I remember seeing or did I read it in Sinead O'Connor's book? When she talks about she did, and I totally relate, and I felt this in my performing and in that character because I never thought about her sexuality ever.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do this character, so that's what I did. And then the bra over her shirt was like a parody of Madonna at the time, was doing that thing where she was wearing that really pointed bra.
Jumbo goatee.
Yeah. So it was kind of her throwing that on. Oh, fuck it, I'll give this a go and I'll try that,
Yeah.
But so to me it was funny. But that idea that I didn't want to be female and I didn't want to be male. I just wanted to be me.
Yeah.
And she talks about that as well, and that was partly to do with shaving her head. She just didn't want any of it. She just wanted to be who she was.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people feel like that.
Yeah.
They just want to be themselves.
In the way the feminine was. And Jesus, now.
Oh, God, it's as bad as ever.
You go, oh, that's what it's, you think, I talk about that in the show I'm doing at the moment, like Page 3 girls, and feminists go, this is outrageous. And now, Jesus, every female performer in the music industry seems to have to be naked.
Have you seen, the one who's supposedly reclaiming her, She's
Sabrina
huge.
Carpenter.
The one she does the thing, Man's Best Friend.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
A fucking picture. I passed it. I was doing shopping in Dunn's the other day, and I was walking, and I just, because it's huge, it's in one of the shop windows, one of the empty shop windows, and I just thought, here we are again. This is not subversive. This is not. If she was, there's no hint of subversion in that picture, in that image, not one. You know, if she's going to subvert it, she should be biting his fucking leg or something.
It's just such a horrible message.
Yeah.
It's such a weird time
Yeah,
for women.
it is.
It's either that or reject.
Yeah.
It's so funny. You know, you think anyway. I just think it's hard for girls these days. Also with well, it's a whole other thing.
Always,
Can I
yeah.
ask you a question?
Yeah,
Actually?
yeah.
I said I wouldn't interrupt, but I am.
Do.
Pom, you went from comedy to drama. She went from drama to comedy. What's the difference? Or do you, I mean, obviously you could lean
I don't
either
think
way.
this-
You love it.
I
all.
think you just
You
go.
had to go, yeah.
Because I did both. You know, I was doing drama in school. I was doing the school plays and all of that, and then I did whatever was available to me. The reason I think we both did comedy was that
to keep
it was
doing.
to keep
Yeah.
doing, but we didn't need permission. So it was that punk thing of going, well, I'm just going to stand up there and I'm going to do this and I'm going to find something to wear. I'm going to think of something to write. Oh, fuck, I'll say this and I'll fucking do that. There's no middle person.
But I think also, and it's one of the reasons I really admire what you do, and I love watching your acting. Is I realised when I was at drama college that I wasn't an actor, that I'm not really interested in being
Really,
anything
yeah.
other than me. And you
Yeah.
mentioned Trish McAdam. It was through you I got to meet her and her casting director for that play Snakes and Ladders, and I met
Oh,
them.
the film.
I met
Yeah.
them in
Did you?
the hotel in Stephen's
Oh,
Green, the
Jesus.
Shelburne. I remember it was so funny. It was almost late, and at the time I used to wear Brill cream in my hair. It all
Yeah.
slicked back. I used to dress really masculine.
Oh, I
and
know
the
what part you were going for.
yeah. And so it was late, and I was doing my hair with Brill cream, and then we got into the place, and they had got tea, and it was a really. I was really tense. It was a really heavy silver teapot, and I picked it up to pour some tea, and because her Brill cream. And the teapot's heavy, it's kind of slipping. And I'm like desperately going, this is going to fall. And my hand is burning because it was a metal thing. And it was slipping and it's going. And then, you know, if Trish goes, and so the character's kind of Dublin. So it would have a kind of she'd have a kind of a Dublin voice. You can do that, can't you? And I went, yeah. And there was this moment of show us. If I have to do an accent, I go away and I have to break down every single vowel sound, and it just doesn't come natural to me. I remember the teapot slipping and me like a moron going, they expect me to now do the
Perform.
character. And I just went,
I don't think I've very rarely got a job. I never got a job from an audition because I had very similar experiences
But
that
how
you
do
had.
you do it
I
now?
went into it.
Yeah.
I did a fucking audition for an English director, and I thought, oh, I'll go in and I'll do my character that wears the bathing hat and the sunglasses, and I'll do because I didn't have a monologue, so I thought I'd do that for him, and the guy he literally just looked at me like, he was English, and he was from probably drama school and, you know, whatever the fuck. And I'm there jumping around in a bathing hat, and I just knew as I was doing it, I was going, oh, I've made a big mistake here. This is all wrong, but it's all I have. This is all I have to offer you.
Isn't that
Sunshine.
that you know that you can do the stuff, but the way that when I went to drama college, they
Stacked
were like,
against
you
you.
have to talk like this all the time. And when you go in for an audition, you have to, and it's just middle class snobbery. You're one of us
Total.
if you can talk
That
like
changed a bit.
It has.
Oh, it has
and do you know the
changed.
best thing that's
It
happened?
certainly has. But
It certainly has changed. You
yes.
know, I mean, I find that I'm quite fortunate actually now
Yes.
because I love
moment
the
being,
self-tape. The self-tape has given me
I was
autonomy.
about to ask you about the
Yes.
self-taping. Yes.
It's
Yes.
rather wonderful because I can control it, I can edit it, I can stop and say, that was shit, I'll do it again. And since the self-tape method, now a lot of actors hate it, but I love it because I like being in control of the whole.
I have to tell you one funny thing about the accent.
Yeah.
I remember I had a friend in London, and my accent was slightly more northern when I lived in England. And I remember going, I can't believe at drama college, they're saying you. I said, they're saying that you have to talk like this all the time. You know, if you're interested. And he just went, could you talk like that all the time? He was like, oh, it's great. You're so. It's just the sheer.
It's so interesting how it changes you as well when you start talking like that. It's like this.
It's totally socialized.
This veneer comes down over you.
And you're,
It's so cold.
yeah, it's kind of cold.
It's really
Gloss
cold.
of-
Yeah, yeah. God, it's meant.
When did it flip to self-tape? I see some actors saying that they don't like the whole self-tape thing because they're not getting into the room to meet the people. And
Yeah, see, I don't care about that.
yeah,
But isn't the self-tape lead to another audition anyway? You just have to do it
Generally.
physically.
you have to go into.
Generally, often not.
Do you do a
What
lot
I've
of
found with the few castings I've done for films in the past, it's about meeting individuals and who they are, and I would not simply cast for someone's talent. It's
Yeah,
about
the
everyone being
vibe.
part of a team and what they bring. And
Yeah,
I remember seeing a photograph of someone that I didn't like, and they came to the room, and I wouldn't have the picture wouldn't have
yeah,
done it funny.
yeah.
But when they arrived, I went, oh God.
It is energy, isn't it?
You
It
know?
is exactly. There's a alchemy.
I
in
love
it.
what David Mamet says. It was a book Phelim Drew gave me about acting, and he just went, you know, there isn't the character's you cast for yourself.
Yeah.
And his acting thing was say the fucking line.
Yeah, but there's so much truth in that because people
Yeah.
say they look at different actors and they go, "Oh, so and so's brilliant, or so and so's brilliant." And what you're really responding to is you love their persona, you love the look of them, you love the sound of them, you love, And yes, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. But this idea of someone's a genius and someone else isn't, I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
I just think we respond more to certain types of humanity than others, and some people bring a humanity and they have great access to their own humanity, and that same person, well, it was actually I was going to say if they walked into the room they mightn't have it at all, but they can access it on screen or whatever that is. And I think in terms of my own, I used to freeze in front of the camera. I used to try and hide what it was I was. And so I never got auditions because I was going, well, I'm supposed to be.
Because camera acting is totally about being.
Yeah.
Just
And I didn't
you.
understand that. I thought I was flawed in some way, that I wouldn't be acceptable to what was being looked for. And there was a truth to that because they weren't looking for the thing that people talk about now in terms of my performance is that there's an honesty to it and there's a natural. That wasn't what was being sought. So I was right to kind of know that I couldn't show that because it wasn't really being looked for.
I had an interview one time with David Kelly and Milo O'Shea they were promoting the Mystics, and I asked David Kelly, what's the difference between stage acting and acting for the camera? It's when you don't have to shout.
He's basically right. Although I do, when I'm Paddy Brannock, when he's directing me a lot of the time, we have a real shorthand because we've done so much together now at this stage, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But, and I'd be doing something as Bernie, and I'd be going, look, da-da, and he'd going, yeah, cut. Pom, can you? I was like, too stagey, and he went, yeah, a bit. So it's just that some big gestures or some things just maybe don't work. He's always sort of pulling it in a little bit.
But think of the classic films,
Yeah.
the Billy Wilder stuff. They're still fantastic.
They're bright,
You can still do a performance.
Well, I can't bear dull energy, like it's dull
That's
energy.
it. It's dead. It was dead.
So there's something not happening there, and generally it's up to the director to pick that up. And if most actors,
in fucking real life,
it talks about exactly,
where you have some
exactly. There's animation. There is animation, but mumbling. I mean, Marlon Brando did a lot of the.
No, but you know what I mean.
No, I do.
He still knew how to give it loads and go mad.
Well, he did, and also he, I think a lot of people, there isn't that much going on up there. So like you're thinking, you're just dull. There is a thing. There's dullness.
Yeah.
You see, because the audience brings the second half. They bring the first half, and we bring whatever we bring to it. So I think some people really like that flat.
It's communication.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
And the more duller somebody is, the more you can impose more of your own narrative on it. So maybe that's the appeal. I don't know.
I know.
It is
That's
amazing.
why I love what you do, because it's it's you bring this definite, chosen, unique, brilliant energy. It's almost that petulance, and it's so different to any mammy I have seen. You just exploded it,
That's
and in
so
fact
brilliant. Thanks,
created
Anne.
a new standard for how older Irish women are to be
Yeah.
presented. I'm just so sick of the
Oh,
mammy thing. It's just
well, yeah.
it's a mammy gas.
Well, we're back
The
to where we
things Mammy
started.
says.
Mammy
Oh,
is
she's
not a
gas.
character description, you
Yeah.
know.
It's
But
gas, the thing she says. Oh,
yeah,
mammy,
Mammy's
mammy.
gas, yeah.
Oh, mammy's, yeah. Mammy is complex, and mammy, yeah.
I loved your interview with your mum.
Oh,
She's fantastic.
yeah,
She's got so much vitality
yeah.
and intelligence, and she's
Do you
just,
know what I love too? I loved the way she articulated her faith. Because
yeah,
it's so much of that generation too. And I often feel sorry for them because they
yeah.
genuinely, beyond, they know everything about the negativity. But beyond that, it's
They've
it's a
connected.
spiritual.
Yeah,
Everybody has
totally.
to have their spiritual
Yeah, and
focus.
they're right about that.
Because yeah, and I
That's what
understand
she's
that.
really saying, I suppose.
Because the truth of it is, the human beings are bastards.
Yeah.
When you get big it doesn't matter what the bloody organization is, a dysfunction can happen. I really like the way she articulated her faith and her disappointment that we didn't. And
Yeah.
that's genuine.
But I love also the love for you have for her and the way
Yeah.
you talk to her. Oh,
It's a real privilege too to still have the mother.
yeah, have her, and she looks. What age is she?
She's 91 years of age, and
Right.
she's so sharp, and it's so interesting. There's real longevity in that family, and the blindness. So I have two aunties who are totally blind. One with
Oh.
dementia, one so sharp. It's so yeah. It's life is short. Tell me.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I want to.
Okay.
What
We've
I
gone
want to.
round the houses. I
We've
hope
gone
you.
around the houses. What I want to ask you, digging for fire. You were phenomenal in that, and at the same time, you were doing this amazing comedy show. So, tell me
Yeah.
what was happening around that at the time. Were you getting offers? Did you have a sense of wow, it's a moment?
Yeah, I did.
And also,
Probably.
you
Yeah.
were in Edinburgh then with the mad one with the hair. And
Yeah.
I remember going up to Edinburgh to see you, and you were in the same venue as Mira Sial.
Yeah.
And I remember Jenny Eclair being in the dressing room too.
Yeah.
And you were really getting noticed with that show.
Do you know what? That is one of those stories when you just go, God, I wish someone had advised me. I brought sponsorship to the Edinburgh Film Festival. I brought Black Bush whiskey there, right? I thought that was nothing. They gave me $2,000 to go, otherwise I couldn't have done the show,
they
and I
really
had
got
to.
their pound of flesh for
They
that,
really
didn't
did.
they? Yeah.
But I still thought I was failing them. So I don't know what I thought I was supposed to do, but I thought I had failed them and they were unhappy with me. I have subsequently met Michael Borey, who was the guy who gave me the money. He's a lovely man who worked for Irish Distillers because he's a friend of my sister-in-law. So I meet him all the time, and he's going, Karen Kern in the Guild Balloon couldn't believe that there was someone coming to because it was pre all the sponsorship. People didn't know about it or whatever.
Yeah.
I was one of the only acts there that came with actual fucking sponsorship, but I had no idea of the value I was bringing.
Yeah.
They could not get Irish whiskey. The Irish distillers couldn't get whiskey across the threshold in Scottish pubs. I was literally bringing it across the
You were bringing
fucking
calls to Newcastle. Yeah.
and I was physically carrying Irish whiskey and giving it out free to the Scottish pub drinkers.
Of course, I never thought of that.
And now Irish Distillers is for sale in Scottish pubs. Irish whiskey is for sale in Scottish pubs. They thought that I would come back the following year and ask for more money, but I never did because I thought the whole thing was a failure and a disaster. And that narrative that it was in my show, Shame, that thinking that what you're doing isn't enough, so that's the corrosive thing that maybe growing up with a childhood where you possibly there's been a lot of failure I say, but that
because another thing
when he
about
told
it
me that
was,
I was like, it all just went. Oh my God!
because you think what you're doing isn't enough, because you don't have that inner thing of you don't have from your
Exactly.
childhood this inner thing. I'm great.
Yeah,
You rejigged your show going to Edinburgh.
yeah, Big
And
mistake.
there was
Again,
no need to do that.
no.
Because I remember talking to Kevin because he had seen it
Yeah,
and
I
he
know.
was saying,
It was
but
a
it was
big
perfect.
mistake. It was a big mistake. Again,
Not
thinking,
enough. Do
and
more.
they wouldn't understand that.
And they
They
would.
wouldn't relate to these Irish characters. That was also the colonial mentality, you know, Irish, bringing it to the
It
UK.
sounds so crazy to say now. People don't realise it
They
because
don't.
there's such a closeness. But that was 1993.
Yeah.
Your show was phenomenal, and you really made a splash. And
Yeah,
you really
and I
needed
should
to
have gone back.
go back the next year. And I think that you would have been a shoe in for getting some telly in England because there was a moment there. But it's also
Yeah.
about having people in your corner.
It is, and people to advise you. I had no one, and same with buying property and all. We won't go down that road.
Yeah.
But all of those things, no one to say, Pom, this is what you've got. This is what you need to do. Da, 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 da. We were just winging it. But like loads of people were winging it, and we all winged it. It is what it is, and we all have our paths.
We all have our paths.
You know, and,
Yeah,
and there's
that's
reasons
so
for that.
true.
And I love my path. I love the path that I took.
So after the show, The Mad One with the Hair, which was a big success in the Dublin Theatre Festival in 92 and in Edinburgh in 93, you didn't pursue that?
No, I think what happened, well, I didn't go back to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, I still did comedy here, but Edinburgh was really traumatic for me. I think, and this, actually, I just did a show in Edinburgh in this last Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Not this year's one, the 124. And the difference when you go supported, I had my accommodation, this incredible flat. I was doing it in the Travers, you know.
Which is the theatre.
Yeah,
spot.
one of the, you know, and you're part of the whole festival. When I went, you know, we, on a wing and a prayer, I cut my finger on stage.
I remember that.
Do you remember?
That
And
was in the
pouring
papers,
blood.
yeah.
And it was epic. It was epic. That's the only time. And I think I was so traumatized by the whole experience. And my best friend from school rang me during the time, and her baby had tragically died. So there was this trauma in the midst of it all, as well as the show wasn't working because I would, like you said, I changed the show. I didn't think the
But
one
still
that I'd
got
done
great
here.
notices.
But then it got really good, and then it got great notices, and then
And you were, again, had the magic Pom energy that to me was outstanding.
so. But what happened was I just never wanted to go back. I was going, I can't do that again. Like, you know, who would? But because I didn't know about the sponsorship that I could have gone back to.
Or you didn't know that you need people in your corner.
Yeah. But I mean, there will be lots of people who don't have people in their corner, I think. But
Everybody has someone.
yeah.
You can't do it on your own.
Right. I think my trauma from my childhood, you know, that I was kind of had not understanding how that had affected me as a person. I think that held me back in certain things, as well as being the gift that made me the performer that I am. But I did perform here. Anyway, not to be going into the whole psychological side of it. I came back here, and that was 92, 94. So then there would have been more theatre shows. I was going from theatre shows, but I was still doing developing comedy stuff, trying out getting RTE gigs, you know. It was all that stuff happened up until about 95, 96, 97. I was in a Rough Magic play in 97, and I was pregnant with Faith.
Yeah.
And I knew as soon as I became pregnant, and that's the way it was back then, still is now, but it was really bad then. I didn't even want to tell anybody I was pregnant because I knew that as an actress, like, forget it, you know, that's you gone. And it more or less was. So from 97 till, I'd say, mid-noughties, I disappeared from theatre completely. And you know, I was working with drug users, doing theatre workshops in the community and all that stuff. I wrote a film and I wrote radio plays, and I did a lot of writing, pushed me more into the writing. But as regards performing, apart from the fact that performing is very inhospitable, you know, if you've got small children. But I really did, that having kids really pushed me back.
Because when I see you now doing Bernie and that has
Yeah.
so been noticed, and you're getting more film work and everything.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that going, that's a career I always thought that you would have, having known your work way back, first seeing you on stage and seeing you doing comedy and gone, God, there's something so unique about what you bring.
Yeah, well, there weren't that many parts. There weren't that many films being made here. Snakes and Ladders, which I made with Trish McAdam, and had Sean Hughes was in it,
Poor Sean.
and Gina Moxley. We played the two street artists, and was based on a lot of our street performing and Dublin in the 80s, and it had that feel. It's a real little timepiece, Snakes and Ladders. But that took Trish, I'd say, 15 years to get made. So that's how it was back then. There wasn't the money. People weren't coming here to make film as they are now, and now that has happened. And I'm lucky. I'm getting the work.
You were
But
recently doing a film with Alicia Silverstone.
oh yeah,
Yeah. So when did you really the film and TV start really coming in again?
that started coming in. I think the first thing I did, I got an agent. So that's what happened. I've never had an agent, right? I could not get fucking arrested in Dublin. And there was this thing of, if you did comedy and you did acting and you wrote stuff and you were sort of a little bit of a wild card or had opinions, nobody wanted to touch you. And I really think that that's what happened. Ireland is very, likes middle of the road. Anyway, what's happened now is there's a younger generation who've come along who appreciate difference and are hungry for it and are looking for it, and are also they appreciate older women, and they're.
And you've captured that moment, and I think Bernie
A little.
is an icon of that moment. So
Yeah.
tell me how that part came. Would you say that is one of the big?
Oh, definitely, yeah. But before that, I'd worked with Paddy. I got a part in Rosie, the film that he made that was written by Roddy Doyle, that Sarah Green was in.
And was the agent piece an important part about getting that?
Yeah, because I wouldn't have been seen.
Because without the agent, you don't have access.
Exactly. Without the agent, the casting directors go to the agents.
Yeah.
They don't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
They don't go looking up your phone number.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have existed.
Yeah, sometimes I go,
Yeah.
sometimes I go, I'm doing loads of shows. I wonder why nobody ever phones me. Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
You have to have the agent.
Yeah.
So I'd be forever grateful to Alex Cusack for taking me on, because that was my situation. So once Alex took me on, then I was suddenly getting, there's this, and I was putting in the self-tape. So the first self-tape I did was for Rosie, and I got the part. And that was my first time.
What was that part?
That was the part, Sarah Green's mother in Rosie. It was only a small part, but it was quite a significant role. And
did that start?
Well, I met Paddy on that, and then Paddy is the director. Paddy Brannock is the director of The Dry. So then I self-taped for Bernie, but that was a very, very long, drawn-out process. I mean, I think I taped, and it was about 3 to 4 months before I
What
knew
did you
I
do
got
for
the
your
role.
self-tape? Did they give you sides to do?
Yeah. I had. She wasn't, it wasn't the character at all. It was more me, and it was quite an emotional scene, if I remember. And then I had to do a chemistry read with Roisin Gallagher, who plays Shiv, and
did
I
you feel it when you met her? Did you?
Well, it was all on Zoom. Yeah, we never actually met because it was just post-COVID.
How could you do that on Zoom? Or did you get it?
Yeah, I can just do that. Anything that's, a bit to do with that sort of stuff, like mothers, daughters, all that stuff. It's very connecting. And Bernie had a son who that was the speech. I have a son who killed himself, or who died. So, it was very, very heartfelt stuff. Anyway, so that was that. But before The Dry, there was I got the part of Mary in Frank of Ireland with Donal and Brian Gleeson and Brendan Gleeson. Yeah. So this was all around COVID. Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah. But I really enjoyed it, and I felt
they were great.
They were brilliant.
A whole energy of it.
Yeah, and I had scope, which is what you want.
And was produced by Sharon Horgan, was it?
Her company.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Merman. Yeah, that's right. That was. I think if they wanted to, I think making the show was kind of enough for them, and then they didn't really have the appetite to do another one. But I'd say they could have built. Yeah. anyway, so that's kind of started this whole little purple patch that I'm having, which I'm grateful for, and
You call it a purple patch. I, having known you for over 3 decades, would go proper order.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Actually, and you know what? It's really lovely when I talk to people who've known me and know me. You've known me for the guts of my life and my performing life, because a lot of people think, oh, isn't it great you're getting some success? And yeah, it is great, but I kind of feel, fucking hell, I've given my life to this. I've been doing this professionally since I'm 18, so it doesn't feel like. It just feels like, great.
It feels like just part of the course.
Yes,
yeah, because
exactly.
once you're working, you're just working.
You're just working, exactly. And you have to reapply for your next job 10 weeks later, or every 10 weeks you're starting a new job. That's
but
why
you have a job coming up straight away. You've
Straight
just
away.
finished shooting the dry.
Yeah.
And so you're going.
So this is the crazy thing about the actor's life or the performer's life, as you know. I thought I was going to have a good couple of months because there was nothing in the diary, and I thought, great, I will write. I'm writing a memoir. I'm writing a memoir about my period in New York, my life that time.
Wow.
Because I just think it's an
That'll be
interesting time to document. Yeah. And I'm myself and Sean are trying to write a TV thing that we keep not getting time to write, and I've a play that I'm to submit. So I was going, great, I've got some time to write, and that's what I'm going to do. I turned down 2 theatre jobs, which was amazing, to be in the position where you turn down theatre work. I never would have before, but they weren't enough for me and my energy. This is, as you, I'm sure, totally relate. Your energy is precious. And it's finite. It's a finite resource. So you've to really choose where you put it, and it has to matter. So that's where I'm at now. So if something feels like it's not that interesting, or I don't feel it's that great, I'm not going to do it. So but not to say anything against the 2 shows I was offered. I'm sure they'll both be brilliant shows, but for me the parts maybe weren't that interesting. Anyway, this thing came along then literally last week. I was flying over to the UK to a family thing, and this came in, and it was all last minute because they'd changed the script, and they had originally thought of me for the part and they wanted me to play it, but then they thought she had to be an older woman, so they took my name out of the hat, and then suddenly they realised, no, she doesn't have to be older, we can use Pom. And the offer came in, and I said yes, all on the same day. So suddenly, from going, a lovely bit of time in Dublin to blah blah blah, might paint the bathroom, write a bit, blah blah blah. I'm going down to Limerick on Monday next week for 8 weeks. So your life is going along like this.
Can you say what the project is, or is it?
They haven't announced it, but I can say what the reason. I couldn't say no. It's about an actress who was a famous Hollywood actress, but she's completely unknown and forgotten. She's originally from Limerick, and it had so many resonances to my mother's life. I don't know how much I can say, but they've gone to get the soil where her ashes were scattered. She died on her own in a park in London or something, or in her flat, and her ashes were scattered on common ground. So they've got some of the soil. They're going to, there's many different elements to it.
Shivers.
Yes.
Shivers.
It's one of those.
And it sounds like it has legs.
Yeah. I don't know, because it's very Limerick centred, and it's very centred around the building. This is Joanne Ryan, who wrote Into Minds, which is the last play that I did about her mum.
Really well, yeah.
And that went to New York, and that went to Edinburgh. So Joanne and I, so we know each other at this stage, and she knows what I'm capable of. But yeah, so I'm going down to Limerick on Monday for 8 weeks, and I'll be living down there. But I'll come up.
8 weeks, is that including the performances?
Yeah. So 4 weeks rehearsal. No, 6 weeks. Till November 2nd, whatever that is. Yeah. That feels quite long though, isn't it? Yeah. We're only in the middle of September.
It is 8 weeks. It is 8 weeks. It's only the 10th. Pom. 10th.
The 11th.
2026.
It's 2025. Listen to him.
I didn't even notice.
And more, have you got more irons in the fire for telly and film coming up? At a certain point, your energy is everything. Oh, jeez, I'm exhausted now.
Oh yeah, what do you want to know, Anne?
Oh God.
I don't know. It's
I just, It's so
Fuck.
true about the energy. Yeah.
It's just fantastic to have this vitality
At this age,
at this age. It's great.
Yeah, the third act is so. Yeah.
I'm just loving keeping my body and soul together. And, you know, it's really important, I think, to... Well,
Can I just say, okay, to wrap it up, I was so excited to see the dry take off and your brilliant part. And I just want more. And hooray.
oh, and
And I want to
can I
see
just say...
the comedy show. I want to...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's unfinished business there.
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
And definitely.
Jesus Christ, I hope I live till I'm like a good age,
isn't
because
it so
I've got a lot of
funny?
unfinished business.
I feel the same too. Isn't that
But
funny?
isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
I mean, to feel
that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still
God
at
help
our
anyone
age.
that ends up haunted by you two.
But I think it's true.
Too soon.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
people who are just not feeling that, and you know, but to have this much animus
Yeah.
and drive still, like, you know, fucking hell. Yeah. But I mean, my hip. Oh Jesus, I can't. No, cut. My hips are great.
A sciatica in my leg, limping.
An agent could be listening to this. Going,
Yeah,
how healthy
my legs are fine. No, it's true though. But it's a full-time job, keeping your body and soul. Sorry, I keep doing that.
Yeah. More. I want to see more of Pom everywhere.
And I want to see more of Anne Gildee everywhere. And I want you to write your TV show, me and Paul, which you are doing.
We will.
Yeah.
I love doing. You know, it's amazing to just find. Do you feel that with the work you're doing? You're just in the zone of what you love.
But you can so see that when you're performing now.
Yeah.
You're just like, you're on stage and it's just like, I mean, I know all the work that goes into it. You don't
but
just
I feel that
rock up.
I'm like where I should
But
be. Finally.
Yeah.
I feel.
It's all
Finally, it's all aligned. Like I've had really enjoyable things, but say like with the
You
new
have.
list, it
You've
was
done
great
incredible
and
stuff.
everything, but it was always just keeping three people aligned was so difficult.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like me and Paul are just.
I know. It's brilliant. But it is brilliant. And I mean,
We're lucky.
that's what, if that had happened earlier, you know, but it happened now and it's great. No, but I'm just
happened
saying,
now.
with some people,
Yeah.
you see, they had that right from the start, like Cher and Sonny or whatever, you know what I mean? Like
Sonny and Cher.
Sonny and Cher. I've just listened to her.
That is a really
her-
funny example. I would have said, people who broke when they were young, like Dylan or.
I've just listened to her
is that it?
audiobook. That's why she's in my mind. But
Is it brilliant?
look, I adore Cher, but it actually gets kind of boring.
Okay.
She goes into too much detail about like what she fucking ate on Monday 1972, like, you know. But I love it, and I love her. I adore her, you know. But no, I was going to say something about you. No, you should do this, but have someone interview you, because you haven't talked about you're only getting bits of it in here and there, but you should really.
Pom, why
Talk
don't you
about-
come back sometime
and I'll
in the
interview
future
Anne.
and you interview Anne?
That's a good idea.
That would be brilliant.
I
Yeah,
think
because you.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
do hold me to that, because that.
Because you met me right at that moment.
I
was
did.
so, and I don't know if you picked up. I was so lost in
Oh,
London.
look.
I was so lost.
Anne, I know, and I remember your flat in Elfin and Castle, and I thought, Anne has to get out of this little place. Like,
She's after making a mess of.
it was nowhere for a beautiful,
I know.
talented, creative Irish girl to be.
Yeah, I know.
It was so soulless, that place.
Yeah.
And it was so wrong.
Which one was that? Was that my housing association one on the ground floor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I just remember going, you need to get out of here, and
Yeah.
so I knew coming back to Dublin, like, you could blossom. That was you were,
Yeah.
and it's the way
felt
I
like
used to
that.
feel when I came home.
Yeah, but don't I was 7 years in London, and
Yeah.
I felt like I was a ghost when it kind of there, because I was on my own.
And
just went
London's
about-
so lonely.
and it can be so lonely, and I had nobody to ground me or
Yeah.
to contextualize me.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? But I was learning, and I was
Well, that's true.
I was absorbing, but I was a ghost there.
Yeah,
and
it's
then it was
beautiful,
disappointing to
image.
see.
So that's
Yeah.
the next one.
Yeah.
We talk about that being
Yeah.
being a ghost in London, because I know exactly that feeling, because I felt it in New York.
But I
and
learned so much.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and I don't regret a
No.
second of it,
I
because
get it.
you can go into experiences in your 20s, and particularly when you're on your own in a big city,
Yeah.
that you never get
Exactly.
the opportunity to experience again. So
Exactly.
I really know London well.
Yeah.
And I really know the underside of it
Yes,
well. And I
you do.
really appreciate all that. But
Yeah.
but it did get a bit wearing being a ghost
Yeah,
and being penniless.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
A penniless ghost.
Penniless ghost. But Jesus, we've both experienced that. You know, we really have.
And on that
But,
note,
were you still recording?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
There's pride in being a penniless ghost.
and wrap it up.
Okay, so, well, here we are now.
I'm really bad at wrapping up.
Yeah, so wrapping up, but we said some really nice wrappy-uppy things.
We did, so you got
about
your
the
edit
positivity
point,
of
yeah.
the.
Yeah, and where we're at now, like
Yeah.
which like we say, we're both feel we've unfinished business, which is, you know,
But
we
we're
want to
in a
get it done.
moment. We're in a moment.
We're
of
in a
work.
moment.
Yeah.
We're in a moment, and we're really enjoying it.
Okay,
I'm
thank you,
really
Paul.
enjoying it. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.